I'm getting my groove on because it is Monday night. Dylan Talks Tone on kprlive.com and now live on YouTube with video. And my sweet grooves, we're going to talk about some really interesting stuff tonight on kprlive.com and on YouTube. So let's get right into it. First of all, we have to say hi to Leslie. How are you?
Good. How are you?
So we went to Punta Cana, Dominican Republic.
Yes, we did.
And we tried to do a show from there last week, and it was insane. We had so much fun and drank by pools and did all kinds of crazy other fun things. And then when it came down to do an actual show, the internet was too slow.
Yes.
So it ended up not happening. So we are getting back on schedule this week. Let's just do a quick rundown of what we're going to talk about tonight. First of all, if you are wanting to listen on audio, you can go to kprlive.com, and that is going to give you some audio to listen to. And tomorrow, there will be a replay available of this show that you'll be able to listen to, all the time. It's a SoundCloud link, but you can get it at kprlive.com. If you're with us already, obviously you're watching live on youtube.com/Dylan Talks Tone. That's where you are right now. And if you are listening for some reason you're not watching the video, at least pull up a browser and go over to the YouTube thing, because then Leslie will talk to you all through the show.
All through the show.
And we're going to talk about some interesting discussions tonight that are going to, honestly, it might piss some people off, to tell you the truth.
It should at least create conversation.
We want to create some conversation, and we want to actually put a positive spin on this, because there's been so much negative on this subject. We're going to talk about some guitar amps. We're going to talk about some new technology that is making some sweet sounds that I'm really digging lately. But then our main kind of topic for conversation that I'm hoping that many people will be involved in the chat, and that is who's killing the guitar. Because this has come up a lot on, in various links and Facebook posts, and even where the Washington Post wrote an article about the guitar dying. It's not, and we don't need to worry about it, but there are some people that are dying. Obviously Gibson's suffering, and some people are dying. They're
all the time.
That's right. There are some parts of the musical instrument business that are suffering, and we're going to talk about that and give you some perspective on maybe why, and maybe understand as guitar players what we can do to make it better. And it's not all about money. It's just maybe a viewpoint or so that we can talk about making this whole thing better. So it's a pretty interesting thing. I have to tell a cool story, though.
Tell me.
Yeah. So I got a email. No, I didn't actually. It wasn't an email. It was actually just a random order showed up at dylantalkstone.com for a guitar, for that red Esquire with the Bigsby on it. And I thought it was, and no offense to anybody, but when it's a foreign country, it was from Chile. And when it's a foreign country, it always kind of scares me. Like,
especially like a blind order, right? Like not somebody you were working with.
Exactly. Like it just came out of nowhere. And it always kind of scares me, like it's maybe kind of fraud or something, because we have had those where, somebody from Nigeria or something is trying to buy a guitar and it's all wacky and, it causes problems. So I was a little skeptical. So I sent the guy an email, and sure enough, he's like, "Can we Skype right now? I'm really excited." So we got on a Skype phone call, and turns out, yes, it's true. He bought the guitar. So for everybody that is is wondering, he bought the Bigsby, the red Telly Esquire with a Bigsby B16. So that's a love-hate sale because, of course, we like to sell every guitar. However, I really, really love that thing. So I'm already contemplating my next Bigsby build. Just so you know, we're going to do another B16 guitar. It's going to be a Telly. It has to be a Telly because of the B16. And I am really, really excited about it. I'm still kind of messing around with the details. If you have suggestions on what you might want to see on a B16 guitar, let me know, because it's something that I want to, of course, I want it to be cool, obviously. But anyways, so he Skyped and he was super excited. Santiago, Chile. And he saw our video on 250 versus 500K pots, and he became a fan, started following stuff, and bought a guitar. So it was just a really cool story. Even after we did this first couple live shows with the whole hour-long format, I got a lot of haters, and I was like really bummed out. I was like, come on, man, like, our YouTube channel's cool. And then the next thing you know, somebody buys a guitar because they watch our YouTube channel. And I thought, people pay attention. And he was really wanting to know real information. And that's what we're here for, is real information. So it was really cool. It was just a neat story. Well, that was weird. Somehow, we caused our computer to go dead for a second, and we lost audio.
That was really creepy, actually.
It was really weird because I didn't know even why it happened. Oh, wow. Anyway, so we're back to good, but everything's cool. So sorry about the little glitch there, but anyway, I'm super excited about that. I thought it was a really cool story. The guy from Santiago, Chile. Also, a couple of cool things that happened this week. We unboxed some amps. We had that unboxing video where we unboxed all those new amps. I'm really excited about them. We did the video today. We did a demo video for the Vox MV50, which actually I have it sitting right here. And check this thing out. I mean, that's it. It's just a little box. It weighs under a pound, right? I mean, it's crazy. It's under a pound. It's under $200, and it is maybe one of my favorite small amps I've ever had. And it's not even small because it's 25 watts in the setup that I'm using it in. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But man, that thing is really super cool. I really, really dig it. Also, you might hear me hacking and coughing tonight. What you're not hearing is all the other problems that I've been having, because I think I brought some sort of, I don't know what, back from the Dominican Republic.
How come they can't check for that in customs?
Right?
Please don't bring back any organisms you don't want.
Exactly. When I go through that scannery thing in the airport and I have to hold my arms up, please make sure I don't have any Ebola or anything, because, yeah, that would be cool. So anyway, let's just say I've been staying close to my own toilet for the last few days. I feel better today, but man, it's been on and off. I'm just going to say it. It's been on and off.
It's the Dominican weight loss plan.
The Dominican weight loss plan. Yep. That and all the cocktails. That and all the cocktails for sure. Man, it was crazy. Yeah, so we're going to talk about those amps in a minute. The other video we did was 3 tips for better fretboard maintenance. You would not believe the amount of feedback we got on that video, because no matter what this is another one that no matter what the facts are, people are just going to keep doing what they're doing, using acetone on their fretboard. I'm like, why would you use acetone on wood?
Why would you use acetone at all? It would like eat your skin and anything.
Right? I mean, girls don't even like to use it on their fingernails anymore, right? I mean, like, it's I mean, you have to
you
sometimes.
have to if you have fake fingernails, but no, you don't want to if you're using your real fingernails. No.
No, it's not good for you.
It's very strong.
And then naphtha is the other thing.
I'm not familiar with what that is.
Naphtha is a petroleum product, but it is the flash point is so the not the flash point. Excuse me.
You burn it?
No, the I don't know what they call that. I can't remember what they call that. The it evaporates like super quick, but the problem is it pulls moisture. And it pulls oils out of stuff.
So it would be drying just like acetone
Absolutely.
and alcohol.
Worse. To me, in my opinion, it's worse.
Because it's faster.
But it works really good to get like sticky stuff off. Like if you have, like price tag stickers or something. The problem is it'll eat plastics. It'll eat stuff. It's not good. So I don't know why you would use it on your guitar. It just blows my mind that people would do that.
What's on their guitar to make them want to use that? I mean, are they that grimy?
So here's the thing about guitar players, right? They either want their guitar to be perfect or they let them get so grimy and gross that you actually have to scrape off finger goo. And some people want it to be on there because of the mojo and all that. It's ridiculous. So just clean your guitar. That's all we're saying.
Not with the grody stuff.
Yeah, use that lizard spit lemon oil. And everybody's going to argue, well, you're not supposed to use citrus-based blah, blah, blah. Don't use acetone or naphtha. Good grief. Anyway, a little tangent there, but we did that video on it, and it was just interesting how much response we got. Negative and positive, but mostly like, I'm just going to keep doing what I always do and keep ruining my guitar, which I just don't get it. That part I don't get. So let's go through some of this stuff we bought because we bought this for the purpose of doing videos and putting some stuff together for the YouTube channel. So I'm going to show you again. We're going to talk about this real quick. This Vox MV50 amplifier. Now this thing is really interesting. I'm going to just go through a couple of main things about this amplifier, okay? First of all, this is the one that has more or less a tube preamp in it. And before you jump through the internet and get crazy, this is what it looks like, okay? It looks like a microchip. But you see those green squares right there? Those green squares actually are this whole thing's encased in glass, and those green squares light up because of voltage, not because of like LEDs or something. Although there are some LEDs in there to make it look pretty. But this basically has a cathode, an anode, a grid, but all the other things about it. So the way it works, the functionality of it, the pure function of it is just like a tube. But at much lower volumes or much lower voltages and much lower currents. Okay, the whole thing actually runs on a 19-volt power supply, which is really kind of interesting. It has an attenuator. I mentioned this in my video today. I do not like the attenuator. I'm sorry, did I just drop a notebook on your foot?
You did.
So I don't like the attenuator because when you put it down to 1/10 or 1/100th power, it just sucks all the, I don't know. It doesn't have any balls. Like I was going to say it sucks all the balls out of it. So we'll just go ahead and say that and you can have your fun with it. But I just don't like it. So leave it on full, turn the volume down. It'll actually work better than if you try to use this attenuator. It's got a flat and a deep switch. And it's got a standby and an on switch. I do not like this little on and off switch. I wish they would put, I don't know, can they just put like a rocker switch somewhere? You know, like a normal, something easy. Instead of this little baby switch back here. I don't really like that. And an eco on and off switch. So this is supposed to be some sort of power saving thing. And then it has headphones / line out, which is cool because for making videos and stuff, this thing's really fun. Now, when I made my video today, I actually mic'd a cabinet, a 12-inch cabinet, which we'll get to in a minute. But what I usually like to do with this thing when I record is I like to go direct out. It just sounds better for the internet. It doesn't sound better in person, but for the internet, it sounds better. So this is what we're using for that. Anyway, it's a really cool little thing. It's under $200. I was really impressed with it. I'm really excited about having it. And then the other thing we got was, and I don't have it in the camera shot here, I don't think, is the Boss Katana 50. Okay. That thing is probably one of the funnest little combo amps that I think I've had in a long time. I really, really enjoy that amp. And we're going to do some more in-depth videos and stuff with that, with and without a pedal board, because it has built-in effects, and we're going to do a few things with that. I just really, really, really dig that thing. Now, while we're talking about these amps, they are different. And this is something that I think a lot of people don't understand. There's a difference between solid state amps, okay? So this little guy right here is a Class D power. So it has the new tube preamp, which is that little light up microchip thingy, okay? Which is a tube. It is a tube. It's just a different kind, a little different format. Not in the shape of a tube. It's just square. So can you call it a square? I don't know. Anyway, so this is the new tube preamp, okay? And then it has a Class D power amp. Now the Class D power amp is different from like an AB push-pull power amp like you would have in some tube amps and in the Boss Katana. So the reason I bought both of these amps is because they are kind of the same, but they are fundamentally different. So for the uneducated or the person that wants to just lump all this stuff into, it's not tubes, it sounds the same, but they're not. They're two completely different types of amps. So I strategically bought them because we wanted to have one of a certain type, another of a certain type, and then of course the Kemper is a Class D. So I wanted to kind of have one of every new 21st century version of an amp, right? That we could test with and without pedals. And of course that's, you know, Keeley's helping us with the pedals, and Creation Music Company with the board, for this project. And then I actually bought all these amps, with real money, because I'm just so passionate about it. I just really feel like, and we'll talk about this in a few minutes, guitar players need to jump into the 21st century. It's just time to do it. So, and then the last thing I got was the Kemper. For the Kemper is a 150 watt 12-inch speaker, an Eminence Tonker, and it's not the right speaker for everything, but it is the right speaker for what I need it for, and it works really, really well. In fact, I need to get another one. We need to have two of them, so that we can run at 16 ohms, so that we can have 300 watts of capability, so that I don't blow up speakers with my Kemper, because that seems to be the problem. Excuse me. So no, it's been really fun to try to go through some of this stuff and learn some different approaches and use stuff that I've just never used before. I mean, we could get, you know, an AC30 in here. We could get another Fender amp or a Marshall or something, and they're all basically kind of the same. But it's been really fun to change my approach and say, okay, I think I have to use this different. I think I have to view it different. I have to look at it different. I have to decide how I'm going to work it into my rig differently. And then once you do that and you have that open mind and perspective, you're like, oh yeah, this thing really, really makes sense. Is it going to replace the vintage tube amp? I still have that over there. I still have it over there. I'm not getting rid of it. However, I bought tubes for that the same day as I bought these other amps, and I have not turned it on one time.
Did you finally put the tubes in?
The tubes are in it. I have not powered it up. I have not checked bias. I have not done anything. It has not gotten turned on since these little guys came to town. So,
Literally.
right? It's crazy. And and even I took it out. You know, I took my rig out somewhere and played with some other guys the other day, and I brought this little guy. It's insane. And they're like, "What is that?" But then the next thing you know, everybody's lining up and wanting to try it because,
well, for one, it looks like a phenomenon because that is insane.
that much sound can come out of that little tiny thing.
Yes.
Oh, and I know. Totally. Exactly. Yep. So no, it's been super fun to just do some experimenting and playing and stuff. And we'll talk more about it obviously as the weeks go by. We're going to do more and more stuff with it. So the reason we are so kind of on it about this whole thing is because it all kind of plays together. This whole topic that we were discussing this evening, about who's killing the guitar. What was it? The Washington Post came out with that article, right? And there was like the picture of the burnt guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, they were all talking about how the guitar industry's dying.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think, who was it? Eric Clapton came out and said something. And, you know, there's been all these arguments about it.
And was the Nashville guy? He had an article too, right?
Yep. Not Carter.
What's his name?
Why am I drawing a blank? Anyway, the other one, George Gruen.
Gruen. I had something death. I don't know what I was thinking.
So George Gruen, he had a whole bunch to say about it. Water break. And, you know, I get it. Everybody's worked up about it. But the main reason they're worked up, probably, in my estimation, is because of all this news about Gibson. And I keep posting things on my Facebook at, you know, the Dylan Pickups Facebook page, as this Gibson news comes out. And some people are like, Gibson sucks and all their guitars suck and their quality control sucks and that's why they're overpriced and blah, 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 blah. And then another crowd of people will post, I'm not going to bash Gibson because when they go out of business, they're going to be worth a lot of money. You know, the guitars themselves. The
products would be? Okay.
But I think a lot of people don't really understand.
They still have to have like a loyal following though, right? Like people.
Right.
So there's that crowd too. Okay.
There is. But the thing is so a lot of people, yeah, I'm dying over here. A lot of people don't have a firm grasp of what the economy of the music instrument business is doing right now. And so they're just going to say, well, Gibson products suck, so that's why they're going out of business.
That's just probably like an assumption looking from the outside.
Well, and they did have
some problems.
Yes. Like, you know, in probably for the last 5 years, they've been fighting some quality control problems. So here's the real story with Gibson. As far as my research has taken me, I'm going to say that. I'm not saying I know everything about it. I don't claim to. But I've researched a lot of this for myself instead of just hearing about it and talking about it. So the Standard & Poor rating for Gibson is like, it's not C-, it's like a C2 or something, but it's basically like a C-. But what they're saying is, because they have so much debt, so they have almost $500 million in debt, or a little over $500 million in debt, that is going to need to be refinanced by the middle of 2018. Otherwise, they're going to have to declare bankruptcy if they can't get somebody take out another loan and transfer this debt to somebody else.
Right.
The problem is that because of whatever his name, Spankowitz, or I don't know what his name is. Anyways, the guy that Henry Spankowitz.
Henry.
His name's Henry. He can't play guitar, and he's a terrible man to work for. I have personal friends. We have personal friends that have left Gibson and have been fired from Gibson because this man is an idiot. So, he's hard to work for. There's been a lot of turnover. And all of the business, now I've read all the business journals, not music journals, but business journals about this say that because nobody can work for them because of all the management turnover, they can't fix anything. And one of the main problems that they're having right now is because of supply shortages, because of the new laws about wood management. Mm-hmm. Now, they've had this problem for longer because they actually got busted for illegally importing wood. But since last year, they're having more problems with it. So the bottom line is their credit sucks. So when the Standard & Poor's gives you that rating, and it's, you know, you hear A, business is A or B or whatever, they're like C-, which basically means their credit sucks. So they're really worried that they're not going to be able to get, the business world thinks that Gibson's not going to be able to get out of their debt that they're in by next year, and that they may go into bankruptcy because nobody's going to want to bail them out because their credit sucks. Mm-hmm. Okay. And everybody, you know, I can already probably hear my Facebook right now or whatever comment thread, and they're like, yeah, it's because Gibson sucks. But
the common theme seems to be that they're not going out of business. Maybe they don't want to believe it.
That they don't want to believe that they're going out of business?
Yeah, and it may not be. I mean, a lot of...
And they may not.
And that's okay.
They may not. But that's where it looks right now. Okay?
Right.
So what can we do as consumers to make sure, if we don't want them to go out of business, we have to look at our perspective and how we contribute to that. You can't just say, well, I don't want them to go out of business. In order for somebody to go out of business, you got to go buy stuff from them. Right?
Stay in business?
For them to stay in business. Exactly. We have to go buy things from them for them to stay in business. So what I want to do is I want to give you and give our watchers and listeners tonight an idea of where the guitar industry is right now, according to my research. Now, obviously, my research is fallible, but I have a theory about this too, and I'm kind of putting it all together, and I want to get your thoughts on it. A lot of people think that because Gibson's guitars have gotten more expensive, like the Les Paul is, you know, $2,600 and nobody can afford it, and their quality sucks, and so that's why they're suffering. Well, here's the deal. Everybody thinks that guitars have gotten so expensive, but they actually haven't. Okay? Which is a weird thing to think about. A beginner guitar. So the Harmony 1400 series that I had, that black guitar that I had, was $59.95 from Sears Roebuck in 1960. Okay? With inflation in today's money, that guitar would be $450 with a case. Okay? That was a beginner guitar. That was a beginner guitar in 1960.
Like a student model, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, a student model Fender Telecaster Affinity is $200
Today?
Today. And it's a good guitar. Now, people are going to say, well, it sucks because it's made in wherever. But we're going to get to that here in a minute. It's a good guitar. It works. Okay? You buy a guitar for $200, you put strings on it, you tune it, you plug it in, switches work, knobs work, it makes music, it sounds good, and a really good guitar player on a beginner guitar could make it sound really good, right? Like, I mean, you know, it's not just about the guitar. So it's a good guitar for $200. On the other extreme of that, the standard guitar that every professional musician is playing, okay, in 1956, we'll take a Telecaster, was $1,749. Now, you're going to say, well, it was $220-something. But in today's money, a standard Tele in 1956 was $1,749. Okay. A Gibson Les Paul in 1960 was right around $1,500. Okay. A Stratocaster was around $2,200 if you go by inflation style money. And in today's money, a Tele was $1,749. Now here's the weird part. This is where it changes. Today, that same standard Telecaster is only $1,500. So the Tele actually got cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
A standard Tele actually got cheaper. A Gibson Les Paul went from $1,500 in 1960 to, well, notwithstanding a 1960 Les Paul is now worth about $300,000. But anyways, I just thought of that as I was saying it.
Yeah.
But
Don't
anyways,
compare it to that.
Exactly. So I just looked today because I really want to buy one. A 2017 Les Paul Standard, just a normal Les Paul Standard, is $2,500. You can go to Zounds right now and get one for $2,519. So why did a Tele get cheaper, and why did a Les Paul get more expensive? Here's where the mentality of the company has a lot to do with it. Mm-hmm. So in 1956, when they wanted to make a newer Tele, they made a nicer one, right? They made a deluxe. They put binding on it. They put humbuckers in it. They did all that stuff. It wasn't until the 80s until they had Japanese and Mexican and all that kind of stuff, okay? Japanese started in the 80s, and then it got into the 90s, and they started doing the Mexican stuff. We're just talking about standard, okay? Just a Tele standard. They marketed it up. So if a standard was $1,749, then a deluxe or a Bigsby or something with humbuckers was more. So the lowest price guitar was the standard, and they built it up and up and up and up. Gibson went the other way. Gibson took the $1,500 standard and then built the Studio and the Junior, not the Studio, the Junior, the Recording, this is back then. They made lower models. And then because of Epiphone, then they had a whole nother line of lower models. So what they did was they marketed down. Fender marketed up. Gibson marketed down. And now today, in my opinion, what people expect from the instruments is different. If you want,
because the market they were after
yes,
was so different.
Yep. There was not a student Telecaster. It was just a Telecaster.
Right.
But there was a student Les Paul. So they were trying to market, and they've set expectations for their customers in a weird way, and now everybody thinks that all their instruments should be above reproach, really. And there's just no way for that to happen in today's manufacturing market. The other thing, too, is the average person is not going to spend $2,500 on a guitar. They're just not going to do it. And this is where, okay, bringing it back around to all of us tone junkies, right? So we are all into this tone stuff. And I already got a lot of ridicule, like, you bought these $200 amps and you bought, this stuff, but I have $1,000. I mean, even in its beat up state over there, that Fender is worth $1,000, right? Like, why? And I have all this other boutique stuff. Why am I buying this cheap stuff? The reason is because I want to learn and understand what real people are buying. We can get on groups and Facebooks and forums and stuff, and all that stuff is going to be exploded into this boutique-y junk, right? But real people, real money, they're buying $200 amps, they're buying $500 guitars, they're buying $1,000 guitars. They're not buying $5,000 guitars. They're just not doing it. Here's how we know this. The main demographic, and this is also why we know that radio is not killing music, okay? Over the last 10 years, retail sales of guitars have gone up 24%. So it's going up. It's not going down. However, thousands of dollars guitars might be going down.
Yeah, and the market is different because there are more people in the market,
Oops.
right?
Yes,
there's
exactly.
more places to buy these things from and more people building quality instruments. So
exactly. The main demographic for somebody to buy a guitar right now is under 30.
Makes sense.
Right? So teenagers, and the personal research I've done for our brand is from teenagers to late 20s, like 27. That's pretty hot. So like 16 to 27 or so, right in that area. Here's the weird part, that fewer than half of the people in that demographic have a full-time job. Okay. And there's a 10% unemployment rate in that demographic. So the main guitar buyers
are broke.
Why do I own a guitar company again? Here's why. Because most people that buy a guitar today are buying a guitar right around $1,000. So they might stretch that to $1,500-$1,800.
Yeah, and it could fall below.
It could fall below that.
Okay.
But on average, $1,000.
Okay.
So this means that the average player is not buying a custom something. Most people really are probably buying a Mexican something, an Asian something, putting some good pickups in it, and having a nice guitar, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as snooty as people want to be about tone, like I have this boutique amp or I have this tube something, tube amps are expensive.
Well, that's not the biggest piece of the market either then.
No.
Yeah.
The biggest piece of the market is guys that need stuff exactly like this little Boss or Vox MV50, like that Katana 50 over there. Those are the people that are the majority of the market right now. You know what's interesting too is almost half of new guitar players, according to Fender's research, are females. So that's a really cool thing, I think. I think that is a very exciting thing that that women are playing guitar more. Because it's been such a... I mean, we could look at our demographics on our YouTube channel, and I think 3% is female, right?
Right.
So, I mean, most guitar nerds are men. So it's kind of neat that women are doing that. Here's some other statistics, too. 34.7% of guitar sales in the last couple of years has been acoustic.
Oh, okay.
And in the Billboard Top 200, acoustic guitars have been present in 2 times as many songs as electric.
Ed Sheeran.
So, all of this coffee shop rock is hot, right?
It's
so if you're under 30 without a job, you probably have a beard, an acoustic guitar, and you're writing song. You're a singer-songwriter. I mean, that stuff is hot right now, right? I mean, that's another reason why people don't need boutique tube, whatever, $1,000 amps. But they're still buying guitars.
Yeah.
Right? They're still buying guitars. And even more scary, 4% of all stringed instrument sales are ukuleles.
I mean, Eddie Vedder did it.
It's true. Eddie Vedder did
I didn't
do
want to like it either.
Right?
But it was pretty good.
Exactly. So the reason we bring all this up is because people need to realize that in the economy that we're in, okay, that we need to focus on the economy that we're in and the time period that we're in, that we need to focus on learning about stuff outside of what we're doing, right? I mean, I posted this MV50 video tonight, and already people are like, yeah, well, tubes are dumb, you know, solid state's dumb. I'm like, you know, you may think so, But like with all this electricity stuff and the efficiency stuff we talked about a couple weeks ago, and the fact that all these people are looking for lower priced gear that sounds good, you are in the minority. And I've said this for the last few days in my videos. If you think this stuff sucks and it sounds terrible, it's almost like you have to do it on purpose. It's almost like you have to just be like, I hate it because I hate it, not because you tried it. A lot of these comments on these YouTube videos and stuff are like, you could tell they've never tried one before. So just try it. That's all I'm saying. Everything that we're talking about tonight with the way the market is going and helping you to understand that, you have to try stuff. The other thing that you got to remember, go ahead.
So what I'm hearing, because the title of tonight was Who's Really Killing the Electric Guitar? So what I'm hearing is that the market is just shifting.
Absolutely.
It's not necessary. I mean, of course, people are still buying electric guitars. That's silly to say they're not. Of course, that's still happening. But just there's a shift in the market. Who's buying, what they're looking for, right?
Exactly.
And maybe, you talked about the business practices. So, yeah, maybe some businesses are suffering because they didn't predict this market shift. That happens in any business. It doesn't have to just be a guitar business. Like, waves happen.
And here's the thing about it, though. As consumers, it's tough for us to... You cannot just stand your ground and say, I'm never going to buy. Okay, for instance, this just came out this week, right? This fluorescent colors Floyd Rose Access Neck Les Paul. And everybody was like, that thing's so ugly, blah, 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 blah. But if your demographic is younger, if you are playing different music, I mean, the person that hates this, according to our statistics, is actually in the minority.
Right. And so we're getting some feedback, and they're saying, I have friends that have multiple $2,000 guitars. A bass friend has 50 basses. 90% of them are expensive. I mean, we know those people too. They are out there.
Absolutely.
But they're also not buying new guitars. They're swapping old stuff. They're like in an entirely different market than we're even talking about right now.
Exactly. So speaking to that,
and a different age demographic.
Right. Like you can't count my vintage amp over there, and you can't count my guitars that I bought and have had for 20 years, and you can't count, trades and stuff like that. You can't count all that.
It's a different market.
Because speaking to that specific thing, Fender did some research, and they said that 45% of all the guitars that they sell are to new players, like new learning from nothing.
What's that percentage?
45%.
See, that is insane.
Yes. And so
that would be a first-time buyer, right? New player, new purchase, probably.
So they called it a first-time player. So I don't know if they're calling it a first-time buyer, but a first-time player, that's what they termed it in their literature,
yeah,
okay? So here's the interesting part. Most players, according to Fender's research, quit in the first year. Only 10% play for longer than a year. Okay? So you have all these guitars out there that are sitting in people's closets that they don't get played anymore. However, those 10% that keep going, shortly thereafter, average 7 guitars per person. They really get into it.
Right.
So I find this really fascinating and super actually encouraging for the guitar business, because it's new players, because it's people that are learning. If Fender says 45% of who buys their guitars are new players, then that means that the guitar industry is not dying. But what it does mean is that they're not buying $5,000 guitars as new players.
Right. Then
right.
Why would they?
No. They might buy, let's say they buy a $200 Affinity Telecaster, and then they have it a year or so. They don't sell it because it's only $200, so they don't need to flip it or anything. So they keep it, and they add to their collection another $500 guitar. Mm-hmm. And that one's not that much money, so they add to their collection $800 or a $1,200 guitar. And then they bump up into, you know, affordable custom stuff like what we build.
Yeah, but
you
then
know?
they
And
probably really know what they want, too.
Yes. You know, and then they keep going. And then they probably buy a couple other cheap guitars, you know, and they start to really find. So this is why it's so important to encourage new players. This is why I think it's not productive to jump online and say that all this $200 amps suck, and that all these fluorescent guitars suck, and that all these new ideas suck, because you are the person that could influence a new player. So if only 10% people play after a year, you could be the reason they do or don't.
Just by being an encourager.
Yes. So that's why I'm saying we have to, as seasoned guitar players, take responsibility and say, you know what? I'm going to try some new stuff. I'm going to look at it from a different perspective. I may not own all these amps for me. I may not buy them all, but I'm going to go try one at the store, so that when my neighbor kid comes over and says, you know, well, you don't want to buy that Katana. You need one of these over here that costs $800. That kid ain't going to buy that. He's going to buy a $200 amp. Get some perspective on all of this and be encouraging to the people around you that want to play. And maybe we can take that 10% that only make it a year and bump it up to 12 or 15%. You know?
Yeah, and what is that doing for the same market we're talking about? Like,
exactly.
If you don't want to buy something to encourage the market, I mean, encouraging somebody else to, that's a cool idea.
And I guess that's the whole point of all this, is change your perspective towards what you think is bad gear. Because even though you might not like it, there's thousands and thousands of people.
Pretty crazy setups, and it's, you know, they find their sound and it's super cool. And
yeah, absolutely. Yep. So that's kind of my thought. Do we have any FAQs over there? We have a few minutes left.
That I have specific questions. So
okay.
You have a couple minutes if you're
we
listening.
Do.
So
some
pop
Q&A.
in a question if you have one. I'm going to scroll back and make sure. A lot of people are just really kind of commenting, and I will let you take that under, like, once this publishes back out after it's live.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can address some of that, and we can see if there are. And they were having some really cool conversations with themselves. So,
dude, I appreciate everybody. I appreciate you guys being, you know, part of the conversation. That's, to me, is what this is all about. And I think, and I hope that everybody, when I bring up these subjects, that's really the point, is to just have the conversation. Now, I hope that you take this conversation back to whatever Facebook group and whatever, you know, forum that you're on, or, you know, even, like I said, to the kid next door that's learning to play. I hope that people take this somewhere and give it some thought.
So the actual question being, so what's killing the guitar? I missed it. So what was the actual point? What is your takeaway for this?
Guitar snobs.
Guitar snobs are killing the guitar.
They are. That's the thing. We are the ones doing it.
We digress.
We are the ones doing it. Guitar snobs are doing it. So that means what you have to do is you have to just open up your perspective and your willingness to try some new things. And even if you're not going to try it for yourself, recommend it to somebody else, or, you know, spread some love around instead of being so elitist about this. I guess that's really the thing. And it's hard for us to say that about ourselves, but that's what we do. I think that's what we do. We cause that to happen. So yeah, we're the ones killing it. We're the ones killing it. And we can fix it. It's easy. You know?
Yeah.
And that's the only question.
That's the only one I'm seeing so far.
Wow.
But again, I think you should pop in there after and
I will
double check. And maybe, I will say the one thing I hate about YouTube is I don't know who any of these people are, and I can't click on it and stalk them or anything. I can't do anything. I got nothing. I know who none of these people are, except one. I know one person.
I really appreciate everybody wanting to participate in this stuff, though.
Yes.
It's super
Thanks for
fun.
being there. I wish I knew your name and I could stalk you on Facebook. Just saying. Just to make it weird.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, I appreciate everybody listening tonight, and this has been really fun. If you have a suggestion for a show, if you have a question for a show, hit us up on Facebook, hit us up on YouTube, comment on this video once it's uploaded and live, so that you can be a part of it. I love it when everybody is having a conversation, even though I didn't get to see them all tonight. Just knowing that they're actually talking about it. I just hope that people will take the...
Getting some names.
Oh, are you? Awesome. No, this is great. This is super fun. And next week, we will talk about something else.
So what about sharing and giveaways? What happened?
We're running into a problem.
I caught you off guard.
No, you didn't. I thought about this already. We're running into a problem because of bringing the new format into this, and being able to track the people that come in from YouTube that want to be a part of our contests and giveaways.
Okay.
So we're going to have to rethink this. So you're just going to have to give me some time. I want to start it back up.
We have to have like an official form or something.
Yep. We're going to have to probably do a landing page, I think, is what we're going to have to do. And you're going to have to enter weekly, or something. I don't know. We have to figure it out, because the contest that we had before worked really well. In fact, I've got a box of stuff right there I got to send out to some people, for people that have won hats and whatever. And I want to do it again, but we just got to figure it out. We just got to change it up. So bear with me on that. I will make it happen, and then we will be able to give you some free stuff. I really appreciate everybody being a part of what we did tonight. I know, keep an eye on us on the Facebooks and on YouTube over the next week, because we're going to be making some more videos. We're going to be doing some more stuff. So I really appreciate all that. And until next week, I guess we'll see you all on the internets. And for some reason, I was going to be all...
That was good timing. It was good.
Let's try that again. So until next week, we'll see you all on the internet. Take 2.